Come on down, Mac.
Good morning, campers. All right. Thank you. All right. I need everybody to stand up. I in a past life was a children's church pastor. That's really funny, isn't it? Yes. And so I'm going to teach you a little camp song. Everybody with me? And we're going to put the word sex geek camp in where the word Jesus was. Don't you love it? Well, sweet cream on a nipple. All right. All right, here's how it goes, and you got to move with it. I love Sexy Camp better than ice cream, and ice cream's really good. Shooby-dooby-doo. I love Sexy Camp better than ice cream, and ice cream's really good. Shooby-dooby-doo. I love Sexy Camp better than ice cream, and ice cream's really good. Sex geek, sex geek, sex geek. Shooby-dooby-doo. I love Sexy Camp better than ice cream, and ice cream's really good. Shooby-dooby-doo. I love Sexy Camp better than ice cream, and ice cream's really good. Shooby-dooby-doo. I love Sexy Camp better than ice cream, and ice cream's really good. Yeah, sex geek, sex geek, sex geek. Thank you. Yay. All right, I want you to raise your hand. One hand. Thank you very much. I do a really funny game of Simon Says, and I got a kinky version of it. But anyway, I'm not going to do that today. I want you to find two other people. Put your hand down when you find them. Quickly, quickly. Quick, quick, quick. Great. Then you can have a seat. And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I want you to share with you in your group, and we have very limited time, so don't get distracted and talk about other things, Pamela. Okay. Everybody with me? Good. So the first question, so everybody just think a minute. The first question is, I want you to think of a time when you have felt that your gender gave you privilege. Share that with the group. Just share what privilege it gave you. Okay. Thank you. We're going to change questions now. There, thank you. Those that teach kindergarten. One more time. I clap, you clap back. Thank you. All right. So you have to share quickly because we're on limited time, okay? So now I want you to think about a time that you felt excluded from something due to your gender. And share that with the group. A time that you felt excluded from something due to your gender. Okay, 30 seconds. Okay. Clap with me. Thank you. Thank your group. Thank the people for sharing. And you can go back to your seats. Thank you. Go. Can I borrow you? Will you write for me? Will you be my writer, my scribe? Yeah. Okay, really quickly, if you're willing to share something that you were privileged with, raise your hand and share for us. I just want a few things. Yes.
So mine was that I tend to hang out in a very clear and kind
Mics, yes. So we're going to make nuggets.
Hello? Okay. So mine is that I tend to hang out with a very queer and trans community, and looking like a relatively safe female person, people feel like they can approach me and my friends, and that I make those people safe and relatable to them.
So due to your gender, you're not threatening.
Right.
You're saying. Okay,
yeah.
Very good. Someone else. Can we pass the mic, please? Thank you.
For me, I'm aware that every day I'm given privilege because I am cisgendered, but one of the big things that stands out is clothing. I can walk into stores, people assume that, yes, I'm the target audience, I'm safe to go in there, I don't have any questions about dressing rooms or why am I in this section or what's going on, and I'm definitely privileged in that nature.
Okay, very good. Thank you. One more. Here. Oh, go ahead.
Just walking down the street at night.
Yes. Very good. Thank you. So now I want 3 people to share of something they felt excluded from due to their gender. So, yeah.
I was raised in a fundamentalist Christian cult, and I had 0 options for any kind of power, authority, or head leadership or anything. Nothing, because I was female. Yeah, whatever.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Someone else.
I was often raised with the story of you're a girl, so people are going to judge you more harshly. So tone it down. Be quiet. Don't be too independent.
Yeah. Thank you. Right behind you. And then I'm going to come over here.
I was told that I couldn't enter the family business because I was a woman. I was just going to get married and have kids anyway. Which I didn't.
I'm going to give one more because she wanted to share both times.
Hi. I was told by the athletic director of the San Jose Sharks hockey team that I needed to age 40 years and put on 40 pounds. They've only had men as a massage therapist for the hockey team.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So gender is, thank you all for sharing, for being willing to step up and share. Gender is this interesting spectrum. We are taught that it's something called binary in our society. That's kind of forced down our throats. When a woman is pregnant, people don't even ask, is the baby healthy? The first thing they want to know is what? That's right. And then they determine the toys they're going to buy, the clothes they're going to buy, everything this kid is just going to automatically like because they have a penis or they have a vagina. Right? If you have a penis, you have to like blue, damn it. Right? So this is shoved down our throats. I talk to people in the trans and gender non-conforming community all the time and remind them that we've all been brainwashed with this. So to be patient with the rest of the world, it takes a while to get that out, right? And I'll be the first to tell you we haven't figured it all out yet. Anybody who tells you, my first degree is in theology, I say this about everything. If I could give you one word of advice about life, is anyone tells you they have it all figured out and they have the one and only way, your bullshit meter should be doing this. Okay? Run like hell. Okay, because we don't. We're still figuring it out. There's new brain mapping science that says people like me, I am a transgender man. Some of you, I don't know if everyone knows that. There's science now that shows that people like me were brain mapped male from day one. One of the most common questions I get asked, and most transgender people do, thank you, Co, is when did you transition? Now, to a lot of us that are transgender, that question is annoying. I'm very patient with it because I educate on this all the time, right? But why do you think that's annoying to us? Yeah, because actually what people are asking, and I will say this right to someone who asked me this, what you're asking is, when did I have my first medical procedure? That's exactly what they want to know. Okay? Because I started changing my name at 4 years old to a masculine name when I was playing with other kids because I got the name I was given didn't fit me. It's a journey, right? So there's not a date, dun, da, da, trans man, that I transitioned, right? Right? Like I came out of the phone booth. Okay? So, yes, I have fun with it. I'm one of those weird trans people that has a sense of humor. So, they're not a lot, let me tell you. I just have the ability to laugh at it. I'm also one of those strange transgender people who's never hated my body. I've been a professional athlete my entire life. My body has been a fine-tuned machine. It's worked very well for me. So I never hated my body. There were things that I would have liked to be different. I think all of us, though, have things we would like to be different, right, about our bodies. So that's common. That's a commonality, not a difference, right? It's just the way you look at it. If you don't like the view, tilt your head a little bit and look from a different perspective. I tell people that all the time, right? It's all in the way you look at it. So the word transgender is an umbrella term. That's why there's an umbrella up here. Literally, it means anything that doesn't conform to the social norm of gender in your society. So, it starts, I like to say, way down here at the beginning of the umbrella. Here, I'm going to let you because I'm awful at this. It starts with something called a fetish. That's part of the transgender umbrella. Someone who has a fetish for clothing for the opposite sex, what's considered the opposite sex in the binary world. Right? And then it goes into cross-dressers, drag queens and kings. All of these people are part of the gender non-conforming community, right? Okay, some of them do it as an entertainer. Some of them do it part-time. And then on the far end, you've got people that have gone all the way through transition, you know. And some people also that call themselves transgender just live as what the world would consider the opposite sex. They don't go through any medical procedures. And that's okay. Recently, things changed. It's not been very long, and it's different state to state. Before, like 2 years ago, in most places, you had to have surgery to get your ID changed as a transgender person. So imagine that. Now, I want you to understand there's this word in the gender nonconforming and transgender community called passing. Passing, you may have heard of it. And people like me make a lot of people in the world really uncomfortable. And why is that? Because there's two things in our world that represent power almost everywhere in the world, part of our power structure. One is the lighter your skin is. That's power, privilege. And two is your perceived penis. And I love to say it that way, your perceived penis. Perceived. Yes. That you are perceived male. That gives you privilege. And so when people like me fuck with those two little boxes where they can categorize people, we mess up their whole, system of, they don't understand where to put us. So it shakes them. I love that. If you haven't read the book, Auntie Kate Bornstein, one of my heroes, wrote the book Gender Outlaw. It's an amazing book. She is a superhero. She's wonderful. And I feel very privileged that one of the things she told me when I spent some time with her, those of you that know who she is that she was passing the torch. She felt confident passing the torch to people like me. So that was just yeah. So it's a complicated issue, gender. And people feel uncomfortable and people are afraid to make mistakes. I remind people in the transgender and gender nonconforming community all the time, be patient. I look at the world like I don't think people are trying to offend me. Now, if I choose to look at the world like everyone's out there trying to offend me, those fuckers, right? Guess what? It's easy to find if that's what I'm looking for, right? But if I look at the world like people they don't understand, and it's easy for me to understand that they don't understand, because when have they had the experience to learn this? Can you write this up there for me, please? At this time, 82% of the people in the United States of America say they know someone who's gay or lesbian. Personally, they know someone. Only 8% of the people say they know someone that's transgender. Do you see where the disconnect is? So, if you don't know anybody, you only see it on TV or in a magazine, all that crazy hype they have out there about it, right? That's your only experience of it. So more people, if you're gender nonconforming, need to speak up and be encouraged and supported to speak up. The problem is it's not always safe, right? You have to feel safe first. I have a target on my ass because I put myself out there. I could have easily transitioned, changed my name, moved away. That's what most people do. Start a new life and live happily ever after quietly. Okay? That's what most people do.
You mean quiet desperation?
Yeah. Yes. But they don't want to talk about that their past. They don't want to talk about that. And I understand that on some days. Even I have my days. But my transition was a very interesting thing because prior to transition, I was the highest ranking female martial artist in the world. I was on Ripley's, believe it or not, Discovery Channel, Learning Channel, People Magazine. I hold a Guinness World Record in throwing the most people in an hour. Yes. So, and I had women all over the world writing to me saying that I was an inspiration to them because I had broken the glass ceiling in a very male-dominated traditional martial arts, right? And that was wonderful. But there was every time, and people pointed out all the time, don't ever say this to anyone, you're really amazing for a girl. Oh. I want to say, fuck you. But we do that to people. You're really amazing for a chubby kid. You're really amazing for a girl, right? You're really amazing for a short person. Whatever. Don't do that. Yeah. And so I chose that either I had to hide and give up my career totally, or I was going to do this publicly. So mine was very, very public. And I had, lesbians telling me I was leaving their camp. And, we're losing all our good butches. And I had to tell them my transition's not about you. I love women still. It's all good. Yeah. But it's crazy, right? Because even in the LGBTQ community, there's a lack of understanding. There's still a lack of understanding. And so that's important that we talk about it even within the community, right? The B's and the T's feel very on the fringe of the LGBTQ, right? So I want to go over some language, and I want to let you know that language is ever fluid, changing, living being. And even as an educator in this, it's hard to keep up. Okay, so it's okay to make mistakes. I always look at intent. Are you with me? Intent is the most important thing. And don't be nervous. I have so many cisgendered people say to me, I'm so scared to offend that I don't even... I had a guy tell me I'm in the Seattle Men's Chorus, and there's 250 of us. And I had one guy who wouldn't speak to me for a long time because he was so afraid to offend me. And finally, in between two concerts, I ended up having coffee with this guy, and he was like, wow, Mac, you're just a regular guy. You're nice. But he was so afraid he'd say the wrong thing. I have a lot of compassion for that, okay? And I teach the transgender community to have compassion. The problem is you have to remember that people in the transgender and gender nonconforming community have had the shit kicked out of them for a long time. So I want you to understand that. So I'm a bridge builder, okay? And so I say to them, I acknowledge, yes, you've had the shit kicked out of you. And the people over here in the cisgender community have no experience with you and don't know how to navigate this. So let's walk toward one another gently with love and compassion, and we'll get there. Right? Yeah. So, pronouns. What a crazy thing, pronouns. Right? Our language sucks for this. It sucks, right? So, when in doubt, ask or just ask anyway. It's a great thing to get in the habit of saying, how would you like to be addressed? What pronoun would you like to use? And it's a teaching moment, too, because a lot of people will go, what? They've never been asked that. It gives you an opportunity for a teaching moment, right? So that's a great thing to do. And that's not offensive. And if you make a mistake when somebody's in transition, they're going through that phase, right? If you make a mistake, just apologize. It happens. It's okay. You're human. You're allowed to be human. Yes.
If you can help me understand, if somebody says transgender.
Wait. Sorry.
If somebody says transgender male, or I'm finding, understanding.
I will help you with that. Can you write F to M and M to F, please? Okay, F to M means female to male. M to F means male to female. And that's generally how you will see us addressed. And any studies you'll see that talk about the transgender community will have that. She just put a 2. You see a T sometimes. Some people use a T.
And
okay?
if somebody says it written out in Word, transgender male, I mean it was the 2 male?
Yes.
So they were born with a vagina,
right?
And they feel like and they are male inside.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes. And whether they've had any medical procedure or not doesn't matter. It's their identity. It's who they identify as. One of the things I do with cisgendered people all the time, and this is a really interesting thing I want you to think about. I say to men, if you were in an accident tomorrow and your penis got mangled or dismembered, would you still be a man? Let me tell you, I've had some young guys go, I don't think so. I love that one, but they're scratching their head. They're like, and I say the same thing to you know, those that identify female. If something happened to your vagina, that it got, you know, mangled or dismembered or something, it got the clit cut, you know, thing, would you still be a woman? Yeah, I know, it hurts to think about, right? So what goes through your mind when you think about that? It goes to, what makes a man a man? What makes a woman a woman? Intent. What else? Who else has one? We can write these down if we have room. Yes?
I got a question.
These are rare cases. However, there are people that are born with a penis and a vagina.
That's intersexed, yes.
How it's called?
Intersex.
Intersex.
The old word used to be hermaphrodite. Now the word is intersexed.
Thank you.
Yes. And there are a lot of different versions of that. There's a lady that speaks on a panel with me all the time at the University of Washington who's intersexed, who there's no outer view. You can't tell by her genitalia, her outer genitalia at all. She was raised female. She has total female genitalia on the outside. But then she got married and went to have a baby and couldn't get pregnant. She never had a period, but her family doctor made something up because she's in her 50s. They didn't tell her family. They hid it. And when she couldn't get pregnant, she went to the doctor and they said, well, you don't, or you sit down, you don't have any ovaries or uterus, you have undescended testes inside. That's a form of intersexed. Yes. So there's a, go ahead.
I was just going to say that there are, intersex takes a lot of different forms. It comes out because I connect with that community because I'm in the disability community. And one of my best friends is, that best friend thing, but she was born intersex, but because she was born, like you said, no period, whatever,
right.
Her raised female. However, she doesn't have, she was born without a uterus, ovaries,
right. Mm-hmm.
and all of that. So I've learned a lot.
Yeah. And, I love that being, that my first degree is in theology and that I was a children's and youth pastor for a while. I love to use that one to the religious right people. Well, if God never makes a mistake, well then, but only a man's supposed to only marry a woman and a woman's supposed to only marry a man. Who can this person marry? They're like, oh my God, I just blew their mind, right? Yeah, makes them really go crazy. So, asking about genitalia. There is no other group of people in the world, I want you to think about groups, in minorities. There's no other group in the world that people think it's okay to walk up and ask about their genitalia. Now, I have some funny stories about this, and I've written articles about it and everything. One time I was at Benaroya Hall, which in Seattle is the big symphony hall. Okay? I'm in my tuxedo. I was with the men's chorus. We had been singing there, and it's intermission. Now, all these people are dressed up. We're in a fancy symphony hall. This lady in her mid-60s walks up to me, and this is how it usually starts. Hey, Mac, can I ask you something private? Yeah. I'm in intermission. I mean, literally hundreds of people around me, and I'm in my tuxedo. And I lean down. I say, okay, yes. Have you gotten your cock yet? I stood back up and I looked around and I chuckled. I'm like, am I on candid camera? I swear to God, I'm standing in the middle of the symphony hall. I can have a sense of humor about it. Some people get really upset about it, right? And I looked at her and then said, actually, I have a drawer full. And how's your vagina? Yeah. The advantage of being a trans man. For all my brothers out there, I'm so sorry to tell you this. Who's ever with me gets to choose the size, the color, and it lasts all night long, even if I've had a few beers. And fuckers, I can come 20 times in a night. So there you go. So I'm going to give you just a little bit about what HRT does, and you can write that up there. HRT is hormone replacement therapy. Hormone replacement therapy does some amazing things to the body. And this is your opportunity. I will talk just for a couple of minutes about the genitalia, okay? If you want to ask about it, ask someone like me. Most people are very offended by it in the trans community. And please don't ask at the Symphony Hall, for God's sakes. Right? So, hormone replacement therapy. Testosterone is a fucking amazing drug. It's good shit, right? So when I took by the time I took my second shot of testosterone, just a quick little funny, I'm so fucking vain about my hair, and I have been forever, there was a day, and you'll be able to look on my website and see pictures, I had Farrah Fawcett hair. I had long Farrah Fawcett hair, yeah. Yeah. And then I would fight in the martial arts for hours, and my fucking hair never got messed up. I own my own hole in the ozone layer, baby. So, got my name on it. So by the time I took my second shot, I stepped out the door, and I looked outside, and I was looking for a tall building to chest bump. Okay. That's how it makes you feel, right? Now, rage, I never had any, people ask about the T-rage. Well, if you have a doctor that knows how to regulate it, you work closely with a doctor, you will not have that problem. But here's some of the things testosterone does to the body. It even changes your foot size. It narrows your hips, thickens your neck and chest, thickens your shoulders. Of course, changes your voice. My voice was I already was a lower second tenor before I ever took anything, and now I sing bass. Okay, yeah. It changes your hair, your skin gets rougher. Okay, and it makes what was, I'll just be plain, you're sex educators, and you don't get many chances to understand this. It makes what was your clitoris, and some people now call their penis, their cock, their little cock, whatever. It makes it grow 1 to 3 inches. It thickens it, and when it gets aroused, it's pretty damn cool. Yeah. Excuse me?
I was getting the numbers.
She's like, wow, 1 to 3 inches. Tweeting that, baby. All right. And on the other side of things, for male to females, you also gain muscle mass, of course, and energy on testosterone. And a lot of people lose hair. One of the things that scared me when I said I was very vain about my hair is I went to a couple of transgender support groups before I started, and there were a bunch of bald guys and hair receding, and I was like, fuck that. So I go to my doctor, and I asked a lot of questions about it before I took my first shot, and she said, it's all about the men on your mother's side of the family, and I was like, because on the other side, it's not good, but all the uncles and great-grandfather, everybody died with a thick head of hair. So, okay, I said, then I'll do it. So, I actually have men that walk up and curse me all the time, cisgender men, because I can grow this hair. Like I really did something, had something to do with that. But anyway, yes.
When women are pregnant and especially if you're small, your hips have to spread to make room for the baby, and it hurts. Does it hurt when your hips get narrower? Do you feel it? Okay. Just randomly.
No, that's a good question, but I didn't feel any discomfort from the changes. I mean, they happen gradually. It is.
Yeah, it's fat distribution.
Yeah. So. Okay. Right.
No,
they aren't widening or
narrowing. If you're really small. Oh, okay.
In your bone structure, it's a change in your fat distribution, yes. Yeah. And your muscle mass. Microphone. Who had a question? So if you're on the other side, let me say real quick while I pass this back. If you're on the other side of things, and a male to female is taking estrogen, the opposite. They lose muscle tone, skin gets softer, they less energy, less sex drive. Yeah, I have some very close sister friends that are trans women.
Just to follow up, you mentioned your feet get bigger.
Yeah.
Is that a fat distribution, or is that your bones growing? Or?
Fat and muscle.
Yeah.
It's fat and muscle. Yeah. Yeah. Good question. Yes. Right. Okay. So I am going to give you a chance to ask anything. You will not offend me, I promise. I have a great sense of humor, and you don't give me any opportunities to do this. Okay? In fact, when I do this at the University of Washington with like 1,000 students in Sex 101 class, I challenge them to try and offend me with their question. So, go for it.
This isn't a question to offend you, but you said you were in the martial arts world.
Yes.
I take it from a competition standpoint, you're no longer be able to participate in that world. Is that true?
That's a very good question. I waited to do anything medically until I was done competing. I'm a world champion twice, United States fighting champion 4 times, and I have been on the U.S. karate team under the Olympic Training Center, and they have no idea what to do with transgender athletes. They not long ago took a medal away from a African transgender female runner because they didn't know what to do with it. I'm working with them on policy about that now. I have now coached 58 national champions, and so I'm working with them on policy. Right now I'm also, check this out, Seattle is the #1 city in the United States for, they have the highest transgender population of any city in the U.S. And yet, Seattle Police Department has no policy, no training for how to deal with someone that's transgender. So a minute ago I talked about passing, and passing, I want you to understand, is a thing of privilege. Big privilege. Why? Because insurance doesn't pay for most of the procedures you need to pass. Right? And it's much more difficult for a male to female in that way than it is for female to male, because testosterone does a lot of amazing things on its own. Male to females need to get electrolysis, all this stuff, right? Some of them even have facial reconstruction surgery. It's a lot to it, okay? But on the other side, they have it much better than F to M's, M to F's, male to females have it much better as far as bottom surgery. The bottom surgery they do for male to females is fucking amazing. It's beautiful. They can make an amazing vagina. I have a close friend, transgender woman, who speaks with me a lot, and she went to a gynecologist, and the gynecologist had no idea. The gynecologist said to her, "When did you have your hysterectomy?" That's how good it is. Surgery on the other end is nowhere near it. So I opted, so did Buck Angel, many of us that are female to male don't opt to get bottom surgery for that very reason, because there's like, it doesn't work well. You have like this 80% chance of losing all feeling down there. I'm like, fuck that. I like sex too much. Right? And so, yeah. But the doctors who do the surgery for female to males, or from male to females, reconstructing, they're doctors that have done things for people like I was telling you about earlier, asking you if you got mangled in a car wreck. Those are the doctors that do these surgeries. They're plastic surgeons that worked actually on accident victims to reconstruct, and then they found, oh, there's a trans community that wants this too. So, yes, question.
This is really personal, so maybe I'm going to finally offend. I'm guessing that my question is incredibly specific, so I can't say, female to male, you tell me the truth. The word pussy and pussy eating, oral sex, all of that in terms of your intimate life, where is that for you? Like, yeah, languaging and also sensation, like somebody, yeah, all of it.
And if you're, that's a great question. If you have a sex partner or interested in having a sex partner that's transgender or gender nonconforming, the best thing to do, just like you ask about the pronoun, is ask how they like to refer to their genitalia. Okay? I call mine a little cock, and I say I'm a guy with a bonus hole. You got the Kmart special, 2 for 1 here, baby. Yeah. So, yes. But that's because I'm a wackadoodle. Yes.
So I'm pretty sure I know what it means, but I'd like to get a official definition of cisgender, please.
Very good. And I'm sorry, I meant to go over that earlier. Cis, C-I-S. Thank you. Cisgender means when you were born and walked in this world growing up, your mind and your body were congruent. They felt like they belonged together. That's the easiest way for me to explain it. Whereas in transgender people, they don't feel like that exactly matches up according to societal norms. Yes?
Some really logical thinkers, it's based off of mathematical terminology, or cis is to be same and trans is transient.
Yes. Good question. Thank you. Who else? Where's the mic? Can we pass the mic this way, please? Got 2 mics coming at you.
So along the lines of cisgender, when I was little, I identified as a boy. But it's because of the culture stuff, I think, because I wasn't allowed to be powerful. I wasn't allowed to go around and kick ass, you know. So, like, what distinctions do you have for people along those lines? Like, how do you navigate that? Like, I don't really know what my question is. Like, where is the line between culture and what you have going on inside, I guess?
Oh, God, that's very regional, too.
Okay.
Right, I'm from the South, and now I live in Seattle, which is like the promised land. Coming from the South. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So let me just point this out. So is this a good one? I'm just going to draw right across this. There's a continuum. There's a scale, right? And even within the cisgender community, if you take all cisgendered females, people that got an F at birth, you flunked, we flunked, I flunked too. Don't worry. We flunked birth. Even within those cisgender people that have an F on their, birth certificate, there's a continuum, right? There's really femme, there's somewhere in the middle, and then there's really butch, right? Within cisgendered men, every man is not the machoist of men, right? There's a big continuum. So when I put it to you like that, why is it difficult to understand that there's a lot in the middle as well? Right? Yes, Mike.
So this actually feeds into what I was going to say. The umbrella thing is challenging for me because when it says like transgender umbrella means everyone who doesn't fit into societal norms of gender, I don't know anybody in this room who would. The societal norms are okay. So maybe, but that's the thing. So it seems that society is far more trans than it is cis when you look down at what the societal norms are.
I'm working on teaching them that. Yeah, yeah, you're right. There is, especially now, right? Because gender roles have loosened up a lot, right? And so people are exploring that. And again, that's very regional. It still depends on where you are, right? I didn't feel safe to totally transition in the South. I didn't feel safe. Think about this. Thank God for the internet, for all of us that are kinky, that are trans, that are whatever, sex geeks, to find each other, because before that, there was no way to find community, especially if you were somewhere like in the South, where everybody's underground, right? I had never met, or there was no trans person where I grew up in the South I could talk to. I didn't know even the words. But when I was very young, I watched this lady on TV with my grandmother, very famous German actress. Her name is Marlene Dietrich. I fell in love. So I saw this woman fuck with gender for the first. I was like a kid. I was like, oh. One moment she's in this beautiful gown singing, and she's very sultry and sexy. And the next minute, she comes out in a man's military uniform and a cigarette, and she's the first woman to kiss another woman on the big screen. And I couldn't tell if I wanted to be her or fuck her. I just was mesmerized. And that was the first thing that told me, there's a chance you can play with this. Right? Yeah. So, I was in elementary school. Yeah. Yes.
To address what you said about feeling the masculine energy or what is defined as masculine in society versus your exterior body, to address your spectrum things, for me, I have a very feminine body energy and I have a very masculine energy inside. So it's what does it really resonate for you to call that? I'm in the lesbian community and they freak out that I say, yeah, I'm not transitioning, and I identify as butch, and yes, I look femme on the outside, and they want to say, well, that means that, a strong woman can be a strong woman and claim your womanness. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not how I feel. I don't want to claim it that way. I want to claim it this way. So it's
oh my God, we can't put her in a category.
Right? Don't put me in a fucking box.
Yay. Yeah.
So I guess you're more of an expert than anyone, but for people who have different ideas for a different kind of gender system, for us to recognize that we're either linear or spectrum versus a binary system, do you think that will ever happen?
Yes. Let me tell you this. As a activist, I mean, I am working on policy. I helped the city of Seattle employees get transgender health care in their package. These are the things I do working with the mayor and the city council, right? And SPD, making policy for if I stop someone who's transgender and they don't match their ID, what do we do with that? And I just got asked from the Border Patrol to consult with them. Yes, I think when I was a child in the South, an interracial couple couldn't walk down the street holding hands. I have seen things come a long way. I never thought I'd see marriage equality pass in my lifetime. And so I think we're in a wonderful place where the ball is rolling. And now in the political and activist world, everybody is saying now that marriage equality, it's just that states are falling like flies. It's just a matter of time, right? Because Supreme Courts aren't holding up any bans on marriage equality. So it's just, so that's like a done deal. Everybody is saying now gender is it's the next big thing. It's the next big thing we have to educate on, and that's where all the funding and everybody's attention is starting to go. Yes. One last question. Yes.
In my other life outside of singing bowls, I'm a financial coach and a licensed securities broker and financial advisor. When I write insurance for someone, life insurance, how do I do that so that they don't come back and not pay on your policy?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there at the kitchen table looking at you, go, oh, that's the guy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they go to collect. This isn't a guy.
Yeah. And thank you for asking that question. There's been a lot of work being done on that lately, and there's a couple of cases in Texas. There's a case where a transgender woman was married to a fireman, and she got his pension, and then someone outed her, and they took it away from her. And they had been married for like 15 years, so it was, And anyway, her lawyers are taking that further. But there's also states where people have won this. So it's right now, it's like in this, bringing awareness to it, and they're working on it. And it varies state to state, honestly. It varies state to state. Some states have protections, and some states don't.
But the question, though, is whatever the physical gender that a medical person would see, is that how I should write the policy?
I think so.
Yeah.
And if they have their ID and everything changed. Because legally you would want that. Okay? And that varies state to state too. But now if you at least do hormone replacement therapy, a doctor will write you a note that you're under care. Then you take it to the driver's license place. It's actually easier to get your passport gender changed than it is your driver's license gender changed. But you take this note from your doctor and they change that, I call it the magic letter, the M or F, they change it on your IDs. And then, but again, that's a thing of privilege, you understand, because it takes money. You have to be able to afford a regular doctor. And I want you, just one real quick thing I'll say, and then I'll end, is that the unemployment rate and disparity in the transgender community it's one of the things I work on and breaks my heart. Okay? I came into this an established person with a career and an education, and that's wonderful, but a lot of people don't have that privilege, right? What's the regular unemployment rate in the U.S. now? Like 8% or something, right? 8 or 9%. And then among people of color, it jumps up to 16%, I believe. In the transgender community, it's 39%. So here's what I want you to imagine. You take a person like me, if I go to apply for a job in Seattle, all my college education and all my prior work is in the South. So in order for me to use any of that, I either have to call all those references in the South, including my college, that my name and gender has changed, and I went to a Southern Baptist college. And, yeah, right, good luck with that. And out myself to them and see if they'll come along, which means I'm going to have to go through Trans 101 education to every one of them, and then I'm going to have that bias. Or I have to come out to this potential employer and hope they're okay. And I'll never know if that kept me from getting the job or not. And in this job market, if you're more trouble, even if you have great qualifications, they have how many people applying for that same job? You get what I'm saying? And it's a lot harder for them to work through that stuff with you. Chances are you're not going to get it. So that's what I want you to understand about the privilege, and it's really a struggle for people that go through this to navigate. You guys have been awesome. Yay! Thank you. Do you like the new camp song? Can I have a mic?
So
when Pamela, I met Mac at an event at Body Storytelling, and then Pamela was like, "That's my Mac," and I was, you know, and I didn't really know who Mac was, and I'm like, "Awesome! Like, Mac's coming to camp. This is great." And I used to be a martial artist. I've been inactive for a long, long time, and I have 2 black belts and was specialized in street combat. And then I started reading up on Mac, and I was like, holy shit. So I don't know if anyone's ever called you their gender sensei.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
I'm so happy you're here. And just thank you for the privilege of doing what you do off the cuff, you know, last minute, and helping make the community and our industry more savvy and coordinated so that we can be more inclusive.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I hope this business geekery was useful for you. If you'd like to continue with the brain sex, click on subscribe up here. If you want to follow me on social media, right here, ladies and gentlemen, next video below. And if you'd like your very own Sex Geek Summer Camp t-shirt, then just click right here, right now.